Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. We're glad you could join us today. Thank you for joining us today for today's version of the online Cloud Study Jam. We keep running these Cloud Study Jams, they're community run study groups for developers just like you, and we have an exciting session lined up for you today. My name is Shri, and I'll be guiding you to today's Cloud Study Jam. Study Jams are tailored for very specific cloud topics and skill levels. So, whether you're a beginner or you're advanced or you're diving into machine learning, BigQuery certification, or Kubernetes, there's a track for you. So, please be sure to check those out. You will also learn fundamental tools and capabilities of Google Cloud with free access to hands on lab. Yes, free access. And we're working on several sessions for the month of April, so please mark your calendar for all those sessions. Before we get started with this session, let me introduce myself again. My name is Shri. I'm a customer engineer with Google Cloud, and I love solving technology and using it to solve hard problems. Like I already mentioned again, we have study jams that are tailored for various topics, and you're joining us today on a specific topic that we're going to focus on for today's Cloud Study Jam. How do you get your free access to Quick Labs? So, throughout the month of April, we're offering free access to Quick Labs, which has a lot of material and a lot of exciting labs to get familiar with Google Cloud. If all you have to do is click on that link that we've shown on the slide and then go and sign up. And once you've signed up, you will receive an email, a confirmation email that you can use to redeem your Quick Labs access. So if you're joining me today right now live and you do not have that, please take this time to go and register there and get your free access to Quick Labs. And once you're ready and to join or sign in, you can join me on the quest today as we walk through our study jam session. But before we jump into the lab directly, I would like to take a step back and walk through some of the material we're going to be covering in today's lab. Different applications and workloads require different storage and database solutions. Google Cloud offers object storage for different needs and price points, as well as managed MySQL and globally scalable NoSQL databases. We offer the following database management tools. If you want SQL, we have Cloud SQL, Cloud Spanner. If you're looking for an in-memory database, we have Cloud Memory Store. If you're looking for a NoSQL scalable database, we have Cloud Data Store and Cloud Bigtable. Our object storage product is called Cloud Storage. And for warehouse functionality, we have the incredible BigQuery. But today's study jam, we're going to be focusing on two specific products, Cloud SQL, which is a managed SQL offering, and Data Studio. So let's talk about Cloud SQL a little first. In our conversations with enterprise customers across every industry, we frequently hear that data management and analytics are top of mind. Cloud SQL is our fully managed database service that makes it easy to set up, maintain, manage, and administer your relational databases on Google Cloud. You can use Cloud SQL with either MySQL, Postgres, or SQL Server, as highlighted on the slide. Now, what are some of the features of Cloud SQL at a high level? It automatically ensures your databases are reliable, secure, and scalable, so you can focus more time on your applications and less time on the actual administration of SQL. It automates all your backups, replication, encryption patches, and capacity increases while ensuring 99.95% availability anywhere in the world. And you can connect with nearly any application anywhere in the world. It also automates backups, replication, and failover, and basically ensures your database is reliable, highly available, and flexible for your needs. One of the biggest advantages of Cloud SQL solution is how easy it is to get it up and running. As you can see from the small graphic on the left side of the screen, the interface is really straightforward and really easy to use. Once you've deployed your Cloud SQL instance, you can take advantage of other capabilities on the Google Cloud platform to round out your solution, whether it's App Engine for scalable web and mobile backends, or Compute Engine for scalable high performance virtual machines, or containerized applications on Kubernetes. You can also connect to other external data sources. So we've talked about Cloud SQL. The other product that you will be experimenting with in the lab is Data Studio. Now, what's Data Studio? Before we get into the actual product itself, some of the tools available on Google Cloud Platform for end-to-end data processing can be broadly classified under 5 categories. So you have the left side, which is the data ingestion and capture piece. And then once the data is ingested, you need to process it, right? You need to transform it or make some changes to it. And once it's processed, you need a place to store it. And then you need to look at all this data. Once you have all this data, what insights can you get out of data? That's the analysis process, or the blue box. And then finally, the most important aspect of it in my mind, the visualization, because you can have all this data and you can do all this processing and analysis on it. But if you do not present it in an easy to understand fashion, it's pointless. So the visualization aspect has got to be easy. During the analysis phase, you might find it useful to generate complex data visualizations, dashboards, and reports to explain the results of the data processing to a broader audience. And to make this easier, Google Cloud integrates with a number of reporting and dashboard tools. Now, one of those tools that we're going to talk about today is Google Data Studio. It provides a drag and drop report builder that you can use to visualize data into reports and dashboards that can then be shared with others. And you will see this in the lab. It's so easy to use. The charts and graphs in the reports are backed by live data that can be shared and updated. And the reports contain interactive controls, allowing collaborators to adjust the dimensions used to generate visualizations. But before we talk about it, let's take a step back and talk about, or rather frame the discussion with some context. Why is this an area that you are looking to invest in today? Today, all businesses, regardless of vertical size or capability, manage data the same way. And this is probably a process you are going through today. You collect the data, you prepare it, analyze it, report it, share it. But some of the problems today is that it's complex, expensive, and difficult. You've got to collect data from multiple sources. You've got to prepare it for analysis, join it with other data sets, analyze it, report on findings, share these reports across your organization. And this standard workflow involves several different point solutions and products that do not work well with each other or not integrated. And if there's a breakdown at any one of these steps, then it becomes very difficult to share those insights with the rest of your organization. And getting started is not easy either. You need good data management. Data tends to sit in silos. Think of it as you have a marketing division, an IT division, a finance division. They all have their own databases, and not everyone has access to those databases outside the working group, and with good reason. And many users do not have the technical skill or expertise or even security permissions to access that data. And then finally, the data is not updated frequently. To solve all these problems, we've introduced Google Data Studio. Data Studio empowers those who have the requisite access rights to connect to data where it resides and visualize, collaborate, and share that data easily across the organization, leading to quicker insights and accelerating business value from data. Creation of a report is easy. As soon as your data sources are connected, you can create multiple variations of charts, a pie chart, a bar chart, anything you need in a report. The interface is a what you see, what you get editor where you just drag and drop the functionality, click on the graph, and then edit it, change the dimensions and metrics. So it's really built to be a self-service product. And then finally, sharing and collaboration is easy. Collaborate with your team. You can see exactly what people are adding and changing to the Data Studio reports. Best of all, these updates are in real time for everyone viewing the report. So just to summarize, Google's Data Studio is our fully managed visual analytics service that can help anyone in your organization unlock insights from data through easy to create and interactive dashboards that inspire smarter decision making. When Data Studio is combined with your other data sources like BigQuery or Cloud SQL, data exploration and visual interactivity become really fast and easy over massive data sets. All right, so that's a little bit about Cloud SQL and Data Studio. Finally, a bit about our lab today. So today we're going to be connecting to Cloud SQL and visualizing data with Google Data Studio. So how do you access this lab? This lab is part of a broader quest. Quests are what we call, they're usually frameworks or an entire course that's tailored for someone interested in data science. So this lab is part of the data science on the Google Cloud Platform Quest. This quest involves several hands-on labs. As you can see, it starts with an introduction to SQL and Cloud SQL, and then how do you ingest data into the cloud? Like we said, the first step is ingestion or capturing the data. So you can ingest the data in the cloud using App Engine. That's the next lab. And then How about ingesting the data into Cloud SQL? What are some of the tools we provide to ingest that data into Cloud SQL? And then the next lab that we'll be working on today is visualizing that with Google Data Studio. And that's the final aspect that we showed in the life cycle, which is the visualization aspect of it. So how do you access this lab? Once you've redeemed your credits, hopefully you've got your credits by now, you need to sign on to google.quicklabs.com, the link shown here. Create an account if you don't already have an account, or use your existing account to sign in. And very key, very important, make sure you open a private window or an incognito window so that you do not reuse any existing credentials you already have. So open an incognito window, sign in with the credentials that you've used to create an account, search for the data science on Google platform Quest, and enroll in that Quest using your free credits. Once you've enrolled in the Quest, you will be shown the entire lab, or all the labs in that Quest, and you just need to select the lab that we are going to be walking through today, visualizing data with Google's Data Studio. As soon as you click on the lab, you will be guided to the front page of the lab screen, where you will see a green button called Start Lab. And when I tell you when we're ready to start the lab together, because we're going to walk through this lab together, we should press Start Lab. And at that point, you have about an hour and 30 minutes to work through the lab. All right. So I will be switching screens now and taking you to our lab demo. All right, I have switched screens now to my QuickLabs sign-in. So I've signed into my QuickLabs account. Like I said, you need to redeem your free credits, create an account on QuickLabs, and sign in. Once you've signed in, let's Google for the Quest that we are going to check out, data science on Google Cloud. Like I said, a Quest is a series of labs put together on a specific topic. I've already enrolled in this Quest. If you do not see this, you'll see an enroll in this Quest that you would click on. Once you've enrolled in this Quest, you have access to all these labs. We already walked through some of the labs at a high level: introduction to SQL, ingesting data into cloud, either using App Engine or ingesting data into Cloud SQL. And today we'll be talking about visualizing data with Google Data Studio. So I'm going to click on this lab, and you'll be shown the Start Lab button. Again, key is to do all this in a private window or in incognito mode. So without further ado, we're going to start this lab. You can scroll through the documentation on this lab. So at a high level, what this lab is going to be doing is, your lab is already pre-populated with the Cloud SQL instance. So the lab comes with the Cloud SQL instance deployed. So we won't be actually deploying Cloud SQL. And the Cloud SQL is loaded with a data set that comes from the US Bureau of Transport Statistics. What this data set is historic information about all the internal flights in the United States. And what we're going to do is we're going to utilize this data set and do some analysis and put together a report in Data Studio about, hey, what are some of the airlines that have been delayed in the past year? Or any query that you're interested in on airline statistics, that's what you can put together. So we have some queries that we're going to work on in this lab. If you're interested in working on it more and having some more custom queries, feel free to do so outside of this lab. So the first thing we're doing is, we already have a data set loaded in Cloud SQL. We're going to create a view of that database. We're going to connect the Cloud SQL data source in Google Data Studio. And then we're going to create a Data Studio report, and we're going to have multiple charts in it. So that's at a high level, the lab. All right, let's start the lab. The lab does take a little bit of time in starting, because it is populating your Cloud SQL instance. It's deploying your Cloud SQL instance and ingesting the data set from the US Bureau of Transport Statistics into Cloud SQL. While it is being deployed, let's at a high level quickly walk through this lab. We've already talked about the objectives. Then we have the setup and requirements. It's going to ask us to sign in with the username that's provisioned. Oh, here we go. All right. I'm going to keep one window open so I have all the instructions handy, and I'm going to open my Google Console in the other window. Just adjusting my screen so it's easy for me to switch back and forth. So when we've provisioned this environment for you, this test environment, you're given a username, password, and a GCP project ID that's already been deployed for you. So please utilize these credentials in logging on to the Google Cloud Console. And we have this cool tool here that you can just use to cut and paste so you do not have to type in. All right, accept, confirm. And now we are in our Google Cloud Console. Let's confirm we're in the right project. Okay, let me agree. Just agree to the terms and conditions. All right, here we are. So at the top right here, you can see that this is the context, or this is the project context you are in. So this is 0C3F7. My project ID ends in 0C3F7. And as you can see, it matches. If by any chance you do not see this at the top, what you can do is click on this and go to recent or all and try and look for your project ID and then open that project. So always make sure you're in the context of the right project, because that's the project where your Cloud SQL instance is being deployed. All right, now going back to the instructions. We've signed in. We are in our things. All right, now they're asking us to activate Google Cloud Shell. What's Google Cloud Shell? It's a really useful tool, especially if you like to have a command line interface, or you like to just interact with it instead of a GUI. That's your tool of choice. It's a virtual machine that's loaded with a lot of development tools by default, and it offers a 5 GB home directory space for you to run. How do you access the Google Cloud Shell? So right here, as you can see, there's an Activate Cloud Shell button. So I'm going to start that. Click Continue. Again, this is free for all users. All right, so we've clicked it, we've activated it. Takes a few moments to provision and connect to your environment. And as they're seeing here, once you're connected in your Cloud Shell, the project should be set to your project ID. All right, let's check. And right here is my project ID listed. It ends in 0C3F7, which is my project ID. So I'm sure that I've opened Cloud Shell in the context of my project. Just a high level on the Google Cloud Console. One is we talked about making sure you're in the context of the right project. This is the dashboard. And to the left is the hamburger menu, where if you scroll down, you can deploy whichever product based on the category. So if you're looking for something in networking, just go to the networking menu. Today, we're going to be looking at Cloud SQL, which should be in the database section or storage section. So right here, SQL. And you can scroll down to see what other tools we have out here. All right. So once you've finished exploring it, let's go back to the lab. Let's run a few gcloud commands. Gcloud is a command line tool that's built for Google Cloud Platform. Again, once you activate the Cloud Shell, it comes pre-installed on it, supports tab completion. So if you're very familiar with running Linux commands, it's very similar to that. So I'm going to use the gcloud command to just check my account environment. So gcloud auth list will tell me what account I have used to sign in with. So as you can see, my active account or my credentials that I'm using for this context is the student account that was provided to us, this one. All right, once you confirm that, let's list the project ID with this command. And the output should be your project name. So again, just confirming that we're in the context of the right project with the right credentials. 0C3F7. Yes, I've confirmed I'm in the context of the right project. Okay, and with that, we're done with the initial setup. Let's walk through preparing your environment. A workspace in virtual machine has been configured for you to allow you to manage your Cloud SQL instance. On the Google Cloud Platform, you can click on Compute Engine and go to VM instances, and you will see a single VM instance running your pre-configured workspace that you're going to be using in this lab. And so how do we get to Compute Engine? So right here, go to Compute Engine, it's under Compute. Let's click on VM instances, and what we should be seeing is a single VM instance deployed to run this workspace. And there you see it. So this VM has been deployed in US Central 1A, which is the zone. It's been assigned an internal IP and an external IP, and you can connect to it using SSH or any of these other tools. And you can click on it if you want more details. Machine type, the zone, any labels or metadata tagging, etc. All right. So we've checked out the workspace virtual machine instance. Now the next section of the lab is asking you to connect to your lab Cloud SQL instance. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the lab, this lab uses a pre-configured Cloud SQL database that has been preloaded with flight data from the US Bureau of Transport Statistics. This flight data ranges from January and February 2015. So you only have 2 months worth of flight data from 2015. And the data is in a table called flights in the BTS database. So the first thing we need to do is get the IP address of the Cloud SQL instance that we're going to connect to, because we're going to use this IP to connect to Cloud SQL. If you want to try, you can just run that command itself and try it. But what there's another way for us to do is we can just use the GUI, because that'll be a good way to get familiar with the GUI. Let's go to SQL and check out our Cloud SQL instance. You see here, we have an instance called flights that has the public IP address assigned, and the instance connection name, etc. Let's click on this. And it gives you details on this instance. So you have a public IP address, you have the instance connection name, gives you the configuration details, etc. All right, now let's go back here. So we have a table called flights in the BTS database. We've stored the IP address in MySQL IP. And now we need to connect to the MySQL command line interface. So let's check. So I'm checking what IP address was stored, 3466.124.255. Let's confirm this matches what we see in the GUI. As you can see, it matches. And now let's connect to the MySQL command line interface. So we're giving the IP address and we're connecting as root and password. Enter password when prompted. This is the password we need to enter. All right, while that is taking the time. So let's walk through the next set of steps before we come to the MySQL command line interface. We're going to check the import by entering the following commands. So use BTS, which is our database, and flights is the table inside that database. And once we do a describe on that table, we should see a table with 27 rows identifying the field names. All right, it's giving us an error. Here's another way we can try and check on a connection. So like at the GUI, you see connect using Cloud Shell. So gcloud SQL connect flights with the user root. All right, while we wait for this to connect, let's keep scrolling down through the instructions. So once we've listed the table with the 27 rows, we're going to run a query, a select query that is basically going to count the number of records by you running this command, and it should report around 899,000 records in the flights table. All right, need to enter the password. And here we are at the MySQL interface. All right. So the first command is use BTS and then describe flights. And this is going to, so as you can see here, it describes the table flights. The table has multiple fields like the flight date, the unique carrier, airline ID, etc., the type of the field, and a few other attributes of the field. So it has around 27 rows. Now let's run this query and count the number of records in the table. That's right. So we have 899,159 records, just like. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a table view. And what a table view is, it's just another view of the database, another copy of the database. So if you change the underlying database, the view does not change. So let's run these commands. But before we run them, let's analyze them. Let's look at them. So the first view we're creating is a view called delay 10. And what this is going to do is it's going to take all the records where the departure delay is greater than 10. So as you can see, departure delay is a field in the table. It's of data type float. So we're going to create a new view of the table called delay 10 that will contain only the records where the flight's departure delay has been greater than 10 minutes. The second table view we're going to create is any flight where the departure delay was greater than 15 minutes, delayed 15, and then delayed 20 where the departure delay was greater than 20 minutes. So let's execute these queries, and we should have 3 views created. All right, we're done with the MySQL Interactive Console, so let's exit from it. All right, so now our Cloud SQL aspect is done. So let's go to our Data Studio aspect of it, where we're going to visualize and analyze this data set. So let's read the instructions again. Go back to the console, click on the navigation menu, click on SQL, and then let's click on the instance ID. All right, going to minimize my shell window. We're already on the SQL page, but just to show you all again how to get there, go back to storage, click on Cloud SQL. You have your SQL instance displayed here. Click on it again. And what you're going to see here is the public IP address and the instance connection name. And you need to store this or copy this instance connection name somewhere, because you're going to have to retrieve it or use it in the Data Studio aspect. All right, that's what they're saying. Make sure you copy the instance connection name of your flights to a text file. You will need to refer to it later. Now we're going to go to datastudio.google.com. And what you can do is you can just pull it up in a new page. All right, I am logged into datastudio.google.com. And they're asking us to click on data sources in the left menu and click on the plus button to create a new data source. So like I said, Data Studio is a visualization tool that can connect to multiple data sources. So here we're logged into Data Studio, but the first thing we need to do is we need to connect it to a data source. Now the UI has changed a little since the lab was written up. So as you can see, our data sources tab is here. So let's click on data sources. Let's create a data source. Use the create button to add one. Here we go. All right, let's get started. Acknowledge the terms. This is just a lab environment, so saying no to everything. All right. And then now we need to find, it's going to show a bunch of connectors, and we need to find the Cloud SQL for MySQL connector. All right, I must have done something wrong, so let's repeat that. There you go. So you're trying to connect your Data Studio to a bunch of these data sources. As you can see, we have a whole bunch of connectors here, and we're going to connect to Cloud SQL for MySQL. So let's click on it. Let's authorize. Make sure you're using the same credentials that you've been given when you created the lab. All right. And now is where you need to enter your instance connection name. Again, this is exactly what we got from our Google console. So put that in. The database name is BTS. And then the username and password is listed here, root and password. So once we've authenticated it, we need to click on the flights table and then connect to the flights table as the first data source. And then we should see all the 27 fields in the data source. All right, let's go there. So as you can see, once we connected to BTS, it authenticated our credentials, takes us to a list of tables. Here we can see our original table flights and the 3 views of the Cloud SQL table that we had created. All the flights delayed with departure delay greater than 10 minutes, all the flights with departure delay greater than 15 minutes, and all the flights with departure delay greater than 20 minutes. I am going to connect to the flights data source. And as you can see, all the 27 fields are listed here along with the types. All right. And then the instructions are telling us to go to the departure date or FL date or flight date, click on the data type and change it to this format. All right, let's do that because it's probably going to need that when it's doing the queries. All right, so here we see flight date. Change it to date and time, YMMDD date. All right, I'm just going to confirm that's what it wants me to do. Yes. And continue. Okay, once we're done with that, what's our next step? What we're going to do is we're going to create a scatter chart using Data Studio. So the first thing we need to do is click Create Report at the top of the page, and then Add to Report to confirm that we want the BTS database as the data source, and then click on the scatter chart icon. All right, let's go there. So here we can see Create Report. Yeah, we're going to add data from the BTS to this report. So yes, we're going to add it. And now let's click on a scatter chart. So as you can see here, it gives you a template and you can kind of drag and drop or whatever charts you're interested in when you're compiling your report. So this is the record count for each carrier. It kind of automatically added this one. Let's add a scatter chart. Here we go. Place it wherever you feel like on the report, and then you can drag and drop it or resize it, etc. All right, so we've added a scatter chart. In the data properties pane on the right, make sure you set the metrics and the dimensions accordingly. This is very important as you're adding these bar graphs or scatter graphs, etc. You need to make sure they're reflecting the right amount kind of data. So here in the data pane, we're in the data pane here. Metric X is here and metric Y is here. So metric X is departure delay, metric Y is arrival delay, and dimension is unique carrier. So let's change the X to departure delay. Metric Y is arrival delay, and the dimension is already set to unique carrier. So this is the first scatter chart that we have created. And overall, if you want to customize the theme and the layout, you can play around with these settings here. All right. And you can play around with some of the settings of the layout. Okay, let's go back to our instructions. So we did this already. We changed the metric X property. Now what they're asking us is to change the aggregation type So each metric comes with a whole bunch of aggregation types. So let's go back to our graph. As you can see here, this aggregation type was listed as sum. We have a whole bunch of other types. We're going to make this average for metric X. So metric X is average departure delay, and we're going to do the same with metric Y. All right, we did the same thing with metric Y, changed it to average, return, and then click the style tab and change the trend line to select linear. All right. Click the style tab. As you can see on the right hand side, we have data and style. In the style, make sure the trend line is linear. Show gives us a trend. Okay, and then the next set is asking us to add a date range. So click on this date range, just drag and drop it, or rather click on it and create it here. Click the gray view button to change it to an interactive report view to test this control. So we've added the date range. And all right, so I think the first report has been created. So let's go into the view mode. So view mode is like the presentation mode. And this makes, if you're ready to present it and actually do an interactive session or presentation, this is where you would use it. So let's look at the date range. And this is where you can select the data for a specific date range. Now we only have, our data is only between Jan 15th to Feb 15th. So let's 2015. So let's look at Jan 16th to Jan 30th of 2015. All right, I'm looking at data from Jan 16, 2015 to Jan 30th, 2015. And the graph will be updated accordingly. All right. So remember, this data set only contains data from Jan 1st, 2015 to Feb 28, 2015. All right, now that we're done with creating our first additional chart, how easy was that? All right, let's go back into the edit mode and let's play around with a few other controls. The next step it's asking us to do is experiment with pie charts. So click on the pie chart icon on the ribbon, add it to your report, and then click create a new field at the bottom of the screen. And make sure we have selected a data property tab. All right, let's go back. Insert a pie chart. All right. Here's your data tab and your style tab. On the available fields, it says create new field at the bottom, right here. It shows us all our field. Click on all fields to go to the field property summary, okay, right here. Before you create an all field, first you want to see all your fields. So we did this step. Click on the context menu to the right of arrival delay and duplicate that field. And then once you're done with that, select add a field, name it is late, and apply a formula to that field. All right, so we're going to take arrival delay. We're going to duplicate it. What this does is it duplicates the field and gives it the same type, etc. And then we're going to add a new field and call it is late. And then apply this formula. Let's analyze the formula. This is a case when arrival delay is less than 15 minutes, then it's on time, else it's late. So any flight that took more than 15 minutes to arrive is considered is late, and the is late field will be set to true. So let's apply this formula. Let's press save. As you can see, the tick mark, our syntax is correct. And now that we're done with that, we can click done. And on the dimension field for the pie chart, let's select dimension. Let's select the new field that we've added, which is late. That's right. Do you see the new field here now? It's been added. All right. So this pie chart gives us a breakdown of how many flights were on time and how many flights were delayed in from the period of Jan 15, 2015 to Feb 15, 20, or Feb 28, 2015. All right. Now, next step, let's add a bar graph. So let's click on the bar chart icon and draw a rectangle to hold it. And in the data properties, make sure metric 1 is departure delay, metric 2 is arrival delay. And we've set the dimension to unique carrier. So let's do that. Insert bar chart. Metric 1 is departure delay. Metric 2 is arrival delay. Dimension is unique carrier. Sorted by unique carrier. So metric, departure delay, arrival delay, dimension, unique carrier, sort by sort order ascending. Right here. All right, that's a breakdown in a bar format of the arrival delays and departure delays by the unique carrier dimension. And that's the end of that section. So as you can see, we're taking a data source here, creating different views or creating custom queries, adding new fields as necessary, everything in a single pane of glass, in a single tool, and using that to create different reports, dashboards, and some of the dashboards are interactive, where you can customize it for a specific date range. All right, for a final two sections, for the next section, we're going to create additional dashboard items for different departure delay thresholds. So remember at the beginning of the data, at the lab, we created 3 database table views, delayed 10, delayed 15, delayed 20. So we're now going to use those table views to create charts. So let's copy the pie chart and the bar chart so that now you have 2 sets, and it should look something similar to this. All right. Rearrange it. Okay, we have created 2 copies. Let's select the second pie chart and let's edit the data source for it. And what we're going to do is click on a create new data source, click on the Cloud SQL connector, authenticate again to the database, but this time we're going to select a different table and connect to it. So let's try that. So I'm going to select this pie chart. The property list. So there should be a data source. Oh, right here. Let's add a new data source. So you can see here, Cloud SQL for MySQL BTS is listed as the data source here. We're going to change it Let's click on a new data source. Let's click on Cloud SQL Connector. Paste it here. Database name BTS, root, enter the password. Authenticate. All right. Once it's selected, let's click on delete 10. Let's add it. All right, once we've done that, so what we did was we duplicated the pie chart. We changed the data source of it. We want to change the data source of it. So we clicked on create a new data source, clicked on the Cloud SQL connector, re-entered our credentials, authenticated it, clicked on the delete 10 view. And now we're going to change that and add it to the report. So let's go back here. Let's click on here. So there's another way we can do it is, let's click on this. Go to resource and manage added data sources. For some reason, it did not get added. So let's try adding it again. Cloud SQL, instance connection name. Yes. So let's go back to the instructions. Once we've changed it to delete 10, the second pie chart is displaying an error since copied and calculated fields do not exist in this new data source. And so we're going to have to create them the same way we did earlier in the lab. So remember how we created a new field, we changed the data format, and then we created a new field called isLate. And that field does not exist in this view of it because the view was created right at the beginning. So we're going to create it. So let's repeat the process where we create a copy of the arrival delay field. So let's click on create a new field. Click on arrival delay, duplicate it, add a field, isLate. Let's rename it as isLate. And then let's enter the formula. So any flight that's arrival delay is less than 15 minutes is considered on time. The syntax is correct. Let's save this. Once we're saved, let's press done. So we have now added isLate to this view. All right, once we're done, let's change the dimension for the delete 10 pie chart to the new isLate calculated field. So let's click here. Let's go to the dimension. So as you can see now, the metrics have changed compared to this chart. The second pie chart now displays the percentage of on-time and late flights for the delayed 10 view. So this is the delayed 10 view, and this is the regular database view. And you can add in text fields. All right, so we've now successfully changed the data source. We added new fields. We changed the dimension of it. So you now have two pie charts that are working off different data sources. Okay, for a final section, what we can do is we can repeat the last two sections where we added an additional database view, but we can repeat it for the delayed 15 and delayed 20 views. And then we're done with this lab. So let me walk you through this with probably one more view, and you can do it yourself for the last view for delayed 20. So let me take the original chart, create a copy of it. Okay. So the first thing we do is go into our data. Let's change our data source, new data source, Cloud SQL connector. Oops. Add in your instance connection name, database BTS, root. Okay, let's do the delayed 15, and y'all can do the delayed 20 at your own pace later on. Okay, I'm going to add the new data source delayed 15. Okay. As you can see, this one doesn't have the is late field either. So let me create a new field. Go back to all fields, duplicate arrival delay, add a field is late. All right, so now you can see we've added the new field. Now for this chart, let's change the dimension again. So it's based on is late. There we go, is late. And as you can tell, this, let's insert a text, let's label this one. This is for the delayed 15. Let's view the report. So what we've done is we had initially created a scatter chart. Then we recorded the departure delays, arrival delays by the unique carriers. And what we did was both of these data sources are the same, so they don't look different. But what we did for the pie chart was we had an original pie chart where we created a new field called is late. And we said, okay, how many flights were late and what percentage of the flights were on time? Then we duplicated the pie chart. We changed the data source to the view where we only had a view of all the flights that were delayed by 10 minutes. And then we ran the query again to say, okay, what percentage of those flights were late and what percentage of those flights were on time? So for the new view, we had 72% of the flights that were late. The original set was 78% were late. Sorry, 21% were late. Now it's 72%. Then if we looked at, okay, which flights of the flights that had a departure delay of greater than 15 minutes, which of them arrived late? And we see that 82% were late. So we can see a correlation there between departure delay and arrival delay. As the departure delay increases, flights were guaranteed to be late on arrival, kind of thing. So there's a lot of correlation and analysis that you can do with the data set here. All right, so that's the end of this lab. Congratulations, you're done with this lab. Please continue with the quest. Again, you can finish the quest by continuing the other labs, and your next lab is where you'll be visualizing real-time geospatial data with Google Data Studio, and you'll be also using loading data into Google BigQuery for analysis, data flow. So please continue with your quest. And also once you're done with the lab, we still have 48 minutes where we can run with this lab. You can run through it a few more times if you want to reset it, but just make sure you end the lab so it just deletes all the resources that were allocated for this lab. Thank you so much again for joining me for this lab. Hope you found it useful. So that's all we had for you today with our Cloud Study Jam for today, visualizing data in Google's Data Studio. Please continue your quest about learning on Google Cloud Platform and deploying on Google Cloud Platform. Thank you again. Bye.